Hi, my name is Vinod, and I have around 8 years of experience into M365 and cloud services. And currently, I'm working with the Capgemini as an senior consultant and working on the different M365 cloud services. So, the today's topic that we're gonna discuss over here is Azure B2B. What is Azure B2B and its features? So basically, Azure B2B is an service in Azure Active Directory, which is mostly used for collaboration purposes inside the tenant as well as interacting with the outside the organization when we want to collaborate with the external organizations in terms of, let's say, the be it a small project, or we want to discuss or we want to collaborate on a particular project, on a particular task. So we would be inviting them to our tenant, and will allow them to use different resources in our tenant or in our organization, and we'll provide them an access. Once we provide them access, they'll be able to access it from their identities, whichever the identity is invited from our tenant and is granted for those applications and resources. So this is what Azure AD B2B is. So we have multiple features for the same in order to share the access on different levels. For example, we want to share access on the particular application. We can provide that with the different features. So what we'll do, we'll see that the demo over here. So let me start the demo here from we are in Azure AD. Let me start from the beginning. So this is the M365 admin portal where we see the different admin centers and services across. So we'll move to the Azure AD. So from beginning we'll see, and so this is the main page where we see complete dashboard. So this is our dashboard where we'll see different uh, parts of our different clips, we can say, which are already there, or we can modify it as per our requirement. So we'll go to Azure AD. From here we can invite the guest user. Under users we have option to invite the external users in our tenant, in our domain itself. So let me, from here we have two options: either create a new user, which would be internal user for our organization, and invite external users. So this shows that we are inviting the person out of the organization. So we will invite the person. So this is the application form that by using this we can invite a user. Let me showcase you how we can do it. Let me invite my personal ID, and we can fill the complete details. We can give it a name, whatever we want to, or whatever the name is, and we can give a personalized message here so that he or she can understand from where this has come from and what is the purpose of this identity. And rest we have other options where we want, if we want to add this user in a particular group, or if we want to give him a particular role. For example, he is going to give us a training, or he would be working on a particular application. So we can do that from here as well. Also we have option to whether we want to give him access on a sign in, If we want to block it, we should keep it as S, otherwise keep it as no. Also, if we want to change the location of that particular person, if he is sitting outside uh, the company location, for example in other countries or somewhere else, so we can make that change over here as well. And the job details, like IT professional, or he is working for, let's say, IT department, or or the company, from which company he is. Also, we can select the manager from here if you want to assign the manager who will coordinate with him, and whoever who is going to work with him. So we can do that as well from here. Yes. So this is the invite. Now invite is being sent to this account, and it will send within few seconds, or yep. So the invite has been sent, and here we'll see this account in a bit. It might take some time to reflect. And under here, I mean, in the personal account of this user, so it should show up over here. Let me refresh. Yes, so here is the invite. Okay. Okay, so this is the invite which has come from this organization. Let me expand it. It is a bit small. So the invite looks like this, where it shows that who has sent this invite. So this is the admin account from MSA VNDS organization that has been sent, the organization name and the domain, from which domain this invite was sent up, and the personalized message was written. So this is for particular project, or what was the reason that this invite was sent out. And here we have two options to access or to accept this invitation. The first is accept invitation via this button, and the second via the link. So once we hit this button, what it will do, it will route us to the URL where it will accept the invitation, but before that it will ask for the permissions. So here we see three different permissions before accepting invitation for MSA VNDS organization. So this is the organization that they want to they want your permission to grant the access on their tenant. If you are ready with these consents, then we'll allow you to enter in our organization or our environment, in short. So once we hit this, but before that I want to show another uh, one thing over here for the same user profile. This is the user account that we have created. And yes, here it is. So this is the user account that we had invited. Yes, here we see this user's name and his account, and the user type was, we have invited it as an external user, as a guest. So this is a guest user, right? And the identities from which organization that has been invited. So here is the identity that we see here, right? Also here we have different management properties as well as the troubleshooting that we can use. So most important are management properties and the options that we see here. So let me go ahead and accept the invitation for this. Yeah, it is here. So we are accepting here. It will take 2 to 5 minutes maximum. It should complete before that as well. Yeah, it is. Okay, so here we don't see any applications or any content right now because it is just a invitation that we have sent out, and this user account has accepted the invitation. But now we have options, or we have different management features that we can use, and we can assign the applications or the resources to this account, and this account or this user can access those applications for the same profile over here. Also, the same user account can be invited from the Microsoft Teams as well for the collaboration purposes. If we want to give him an access on a particular, let's say, particular team, and we want to uh, allow him to work on a particular task, right? So that can be achieved from over here as well. So what we'll do, we'll see these different options one by one, and we'll move to the teams next. So this is the option which Microsoft recently launched, and it is under preview mode. So it is not fully functional, and Microsoft has already asked their respective companies or the partners who are going to work on this particular preview feature and test it rigorously to understand its pros and cons and impacts on the environment, and to get the get deep into it, so that they don't make any unnecessary changes or the requirements or whatever the purpose was to build this feature. So it is under preview and testing, so we can use that, but currently it is not allow for this test tenant. So it is just showing over here, but it is not at in a functioning process or function. Yeah. So the next we have is assigned roles over here. So here we have different options that we see, like eligible assignments, active assignments, and expired assignments. So each option that we see here are different, and each comes with a different purpose. And here are also we have option to add assignment. So once we click on assignments, we see a setting over here, and it also shows a resource for our organization, and the resource type would be directory, but it is based on our requirement. If we want to change it, we can change it out from this here. For example, I am allowing this user to work on it's a help desk role. So once we select the role, and we can also select the scope for the same. So we have two options over here. Either we can select directory or administrative unit. So the directory would be for entire organization directory. This role or the person who has access to this admin role, helpdesk admin role, he has more privilege than the administrative unit role, because he would be able to see uh, other permissions and other accessibility than the administrative unit. And the person who is having only administrative unit with the administrative helpdesk admin access, he can only have a limited scope of permissions and privileges in order to make some changes, or he can work on only those certain assigned tasks on the his and permissions. Yeah, and the selected scope that we can see or select from here, that is help desk group, or this is the group that I already created. So we can select, and this is the group created under administrative unit. So once we create this unit group, then we can assign it to any particular user or a group of users. So maximum up to 20 users can be added to this group in order to give them privileges to work on a particular task, or give them any admin privilege in the directory. So once we hit next, so we have here a settings like assignment type, which type of assignment we want to offer to this account. So either to keep it as eligible, and or select it as an active. If we select active, we have a justification, or we need to give the justification why this account or the user needs this permission in order to work on this task, or maybe they want to perform something. So we need to add something over here as an justification. Also, here is the tick or a checkbox which says permanently assigned, or if we want to set it for, let's say, 2 hours, if we want to give the access, let's to complete a task on a particular time, or let's say 2 hours, so we can give that as well. So it's a 3, so we can give it as a 6 till 6:24. This account can have this access, and he can use only for this particular period. So after 3 hours, this user account won't have any admin privileges on his ID. So he won't be able to make any changes. He won't be able to access any. Here we have assigned this role permissions to this account. So it will reflect over here within few minutes. Or and eligible assignment is the assignment type that we can use. It has some criteria which allows us to give the assignment on basis of the criteria set by the global admin or the organization terms and policies that we want to offer. For example, the particular person who is requesting access to work on a application uh, hosting inside the directory, and we want to assign them, and that access should be uh, granted. Before that, we need to assign that, as well as that access should be reviewed by the security team plus the team or the global administrators who has set the terms and conditions for the eligibility, whether this person or he or she should be able to access this, right? So once those things are permitted, then only that person or the account is eligible for the admin roles that they have requested for. The expired assignments are only for the it will show up here those assignments which are expired due to their time limit, or whatever the duration was set for the same. The next we have administrative unit, as I discussed at the time of adding this role to user account. Here is also option to add the administrative unit. From here we can add the same, which we see here, and select the same. The third is groups. So currently this user is an member of this group because of it is added because of it is the default group that was created for entire tenant here, and this is coming from the conditional access policy as per the requirement setup and the configuration of the policy altogether. So that is why this group is automatically added, as this group type is a dynamic membership, and this is being added because of the type. Whenever there is a new user being added in this tenant or this environment, this or the new user would be added automatically without any intervention. So we as an admin don't have to go ahead and add each and every user in the particular group. So that's a dynamic membership. We'll go back to this options. Okay, so here we have another option is an application. So here we don't see any application because of we have not added any application yet for this guest user, right? So once we add that, we'll see it over here. We'll go to the next is licenses. Here is also there is no license added, right? So from here we can add the license to this user account to perform any uh, other activities that are license based, or if we want to give him a particular access which is not there in the guest access. So from here we can give him an license, and these are the different services under this license plan that we see, and we can grant. Oh, this is giving something. License assignment failed. Okay, so for this user account we have not specified any usage location. That is why it license assignment is failing. Okay, so we can uh, change it later, or we can assign it. Let me go back to that. Okay, so next we have devices. For example, we have assigned any particular device, or from which device this user is accessing the resources or applications that we have granted for this user account. So here it will show up the device name and device entire details, like name, enabled OS version, joint type, what kind of the device this joined to our directory, whether it is managed by MDM or compliant registered, or what are the activities of this device. So we can see complete details over here for the same. Azure role assignments next. So currently we have not assigned any, so that is why it is blank and it is not showing anything out here. So once we assign the role or is been granted, then it will show up here. The next method we have is authentication method. Okay, so here we have different options for the authentication, whether this user can access resources by phone, or alternate this alternate phone number is just to recover the password or notifications, and the email as well. So currently we have not assigned any or not registered any authentication method so far. So that is why it is not showing up anything over here. Also we have different options over here. So the first is overview, where we can see the complete overview of this user account. It will show up the account status, sign in details, whether this user account was able to last sign in logs, and the BRB collaboration, B2B collaboration, like whatever the setting and what is the status altogether. So here we have two options: email invitations and redemption status. So email invitation was sent. So here is the option to resend it. Once we select yes, it will allow us to resend the invitation. The next we have redemption status. If we want to redeem the status or reset the invitation completely from the beginning, so once we select yes and select yes over here, so what it will do, it will send the again invitation to the same user account, and then it will ask to accept the invitation, and then we can proceed again. Okay, and next we have audit logs. In order to audit the user's activities from where he has been logging, what are his activities, what role is been assigned, what he is doing, what type of access he has been granted, right? So all that details we can see over here: the target details, the user ID and the principal UPN for the same account, and the modified properties. So these are the properties for monitoring and validation purposes, at what level this account was processed. Okay, so next we have sign in logs. So far this was signed only twice. The first one, when we hit the application, invitation, accept the invitation form, then this entry was logged over here with the different details, like tenant ID, resource tenant, and different application IDs. We can see here the user ID, which is produced by the our own directory from where this user has been invited, with the different details, like from which location this user is trying, what is the IP address for the same, what is the system number, what is the device information, what's the browser OS authentication details, whether this was granted by a multi-factor authentication, what level of authentication was assigned to this, and the conditional access policy. So here is the magic that we see at the time of uh, granting the resources or whatever is already configured in the conditional access policy. So here is the conditional access policy, which says that once at the time of accessing any resources or the accepting invitation, this user has to set up the multi-factor authentication before accessing any resources of the corporation or of the organization. So that was not, this policy was not applied. And the next was external access. Yes, it was success, and the group join was assigned as well, right? So the next we have read only option, which is just for the controls, that what are the controls and the policy was assigned, and what are the given controls for this guest accounts, right? Okay, so the last option we have diagnose and solve problems. This is just for identifying issues that we come across. If there is any issue, or if you want to see, or if you want to troubleshoot something for this account or any other accounts that we face or any external users are facing, then we can try a different methods or steps which are listed over here, and we can test it. So this is all about guest access and external collaboration by Azure B2B. Also, there is specialized setting that we can utilize for Azure B2B for entire organization. Plus, if we want to allow only specific domains, right? So we can utilize those as well from here. Okay. So the first we see here is the overview where we have external identities, and under that we have different options like collaboration setting, identity providers, configure user flows. In case we want to allow external users or partners or vendors to sign up themselves and access the resources from our organization or our entire tenant. Also, we can invite guest users. Uh, this is another option, and set up the conditional access policy and set up the access review in order to do the life cycle management for the identities, as well as whether we are uh, whether we have given the correct right set of permissions and access level to those accounts so that they can access only those resources apart from other uh, confidential applications and confidential details of the data. And we'll go through one by one, which we can see over here. The second we have option is cross tenants access settings. Under this we have different options, the features we can say. Organizational settings. By adding any organization over here, we would be inviting them or allowing them to enter in our domain or the tenant to access resources plus to do the collaboration with our internal users. And we would be adding, for example, google.com, and we will add that and the tenant ID. So tenant ID is showing over here. It's our tenant ID, which is adding or allowing this domain in order to communicate with uh, their internal people or the organization identities. So next we have a default setting. Under default, we have two different settings: is an inbound setting, access setting, and outbound access setting. If we want to give or allow access inside the organization from here as well on a particular domain level basis, so we can do that as well. So we can either allow access or block access. Only any one of these things can happen at a time. We cannot select both options on users groups and application both levels. So we can do the same over here as well. If we allow, then we cannot block, so we can do only one at a time. And for application we have allow applications, all applications, or particular applications, so we can do that as well. And for B2B direct routing, direct connect as well. Okay, let me discard this. For B2B direct connect as well, those are the same options. We can perform or allow or block. And the trust setting inside the organization, whether we want to trust multi-factor from Azure AD tenants, from our internal tenant plus external tenant, and the trust compliant devices, the devices those external users are going to use or they are using, whether we want to allow or trust those devices they are compliant enough with the policy and organizational terms and conditions whatever they have set up in order to access the content, data, and resources. And for hybrid Azure devices as well, so we can use as per the uh, configuration or the setting that we want to monitor or keep on the organizational level. Same for the outbound access as well. Yes, here is also we have options, either allow access or a block on a all organizational users or particular group of users or selected users, let's say 5 users only, so I can select only those 5 users from the list. And if we want to allow for entire organization, we can do that as well, and same for applications as well. So here is the another third option which says Microsoft Cloud setting. It's under preview. So this is mostly for the organizations under Microsoft Azure government, and so far they have just introduced it for Azure government cloud for government utilizations and for China. So it is not yet operational, so it's under preview. And next we have identity providers. So from here we have different identities that we can utilize in case if we want to allow the sign up self-service for the partners or the vendors and uh, outside people of the organization. So we can configure that with the different providers as well as the different protocols. Here we have SAML, WSPAD identity providers as well, and different options that we can utilize. So first we have Google identity provider. Here we need a client ID and client secret. So we can get it from the Google identity application, and we need to provide those client ID and client secrets over here. Then only we can configure this identity. So similar for Facebook and SAML as well. Yes, so similar can be set up for other providers. And for Azure AD, so this is option. So this is the option for setting up the B2B with the outside organization. Let's say there are two organizations, A.com and B.com. B.com wants to collaborate with the A.com, so they will be setting collaboration between A and B with the different let's say collaboration approach, whether to go with the ID, and they can allow their internal, or they can set up the cross tenant access as well. So whichever is suitable for the requirement that they are expecting or looking for. The next option we have is external collaboration setting. So this is most important, and this is the default setting we can see here. So here we have guest access restrictions, guest access invite settings, and collaboration setting. So from here, if we select first option, which says user guest users have the same access in as members, so most inclusive. So what it will do, it will give the access, but the existing whatever the other users have, it would be the same, and other options are similar, but they have a very restrictive kind of form. They won't be able to access other privileges, or they won't have enough access to utilize the features on the tenant. So it's better to check whichever is the suitable for the requirement and what they want to go with, right? So the next we have guest invite setting, who can invite the members or the guest in our tenant. So this is the default option that is selected. Anyone in the organization can invite users, and others are restrictive than this. So if we select the second one, members and member users and user assigned to specific admin can only invite. Only users assigned a specific admin roles or no one in the organization. So it depends on the organizational requirement, as well as if we want to fine grain the controls inside the organization. or if we want to let's say monitor or utilize the lifecycle management inside the organization on the guest access as well. So we need to consider these options, who can do what and what we want to do with them, right? So next option we have enable guest self-service sign up by user flows. So this is the option where we would be allowing external partners, vendors to sign up themselves. But before that, we need to make sure that this option is set up yes, and the prerequisites configuration should be done from our tenant if they are trying to access or allowing or utilizing the resources from our organization. The next we have is the collaboration restrictions. So these are the options we can select based on our requirement. Any one would be perfect or would be good for the, let's say, collaboration. So if you select deny invitations to be specified domains, if I don't want allow to utilize yahoo.com, yahoo. Yeah, yahoo.com. So what I'll do, I'll deny this domain, and if anyone trying to communicate with the yahoo.com identity with our internal users, it won't allow this identity to communicate. And if we want to utilize most restrictive option, we can do that as well, but it will do allow invitations only to the selected domains. For example, I'm allowing, let's say, google.com and microsoft.com. So only those domains can be, it is given error. Value must be like example.com or okay, I think something is okay. It requires a star. So we can either select or allow only those list of domains that we want to add or allow them to utilize over here. So this is the complete external setting that we can define and save the changes. So next we have diagnose and solve problems if there are any inside the entire organization. So from here we have different options like troubleshooter, which allows us to troubleshoot the sign-in log, sign-in issues, sign-in. It will collect the trouble sign-in logs and it will identify from where this issue is coming and what's the problem. And also we have different options to troubleshoot and what are the common issues, and with their guidance that we can see and we can follow them one by one. So next we have self-service sign up uh, options. So this is the option where we'll be allowing external parties, external organizations to sign up and enter to our domain. So these are the default attributes. So this is the custom one which I had created earlier, or we can create a brand new what type of we want to set up, right? That's a phone number. What could be the data type for the same? So we need to select that, and we need to add the description to identify what kind of this attribute is, right? and simply we can create it. All right. So next we have API connectors for the sign up service or sign up options. In case if we want to collect as well as allow the external parties to sign up, and we are doing it through API, we are allowing them to utilize a particular application, and we are collecting all the details through API. In that case, we need to register the API with the authentication and make it available over here for the self-service. And next we have user flows. So this is the default user flow, or we can create a brand new for the sign up itself. So let's say sign up for Google identity. There shouldn't be space. Okay. And what kind of identity we want to allow. So here are the options like Azure AD. It's a default option that we can allow or they can utilize. Next we have a Microsoft account. So currently they have allowed Microsoft accounts. You can see here, and these are the different attributes that we can collect from the end users at the time of signing up. For example, this is the will change the name MS ID, and we'll collect first name, last name, city, country, display name, or maybe phone number, and we'll create this user flow. Okay, so here is the user flow. So this is the user flow created over here with the user attributes, API connectors. If we want to utilize anything, if we want to change the language, we can do that as well. From here we have identities that we have selected, and here are the different options that we can change or utilize as per the uh, requirement altogether. From here we can assign the application as well for this user flow. Next we have subscriptions, linked subscriptions, if there are any. So currently there is no any linked subscription, so we can utilize or link one. So currently I have added one, but it is not linked. So it requires the Azure complete subscription. That's why it is not allowing to this account that I had utilized before. And for life cycle purposes, we have terms of use, conditions, and access reviews that we can utilize. Right. So I think we have gone through all the options for this. Yeah, there is one thing. Application. Yeah. So what we'll do, we'll assign one application to this user account, and we'll see how that looks. So we'll assign, let's say, Salesforce, and from here we can assign this application to this invited or external user. Roles and okay, I think from there I entered. Yes, let me go to it is not moving, I guess. Let me refresh once. Okay, it is come up. So from here we'll assign this to the user. So here we have two options, users and groups. So which users we want to assign. So we need to select that user account. This is the one. Select, and the role, what type of role we want to give from here, whether this user is marketing user or solution manager or system administrator. We'll select standard, select, and assign it. Yes, so this has been assigned, and once we go back to our this user account, we'll refresh it. We'll be able to see that application over here. Okay, it is not showing. Let me go back to the URL and reopen. I think it is taking some time to. So meantime, we will go to Teams and we'll add the same user to a team and see the experience, guest user experience. Let's say I'm adding this user to this architecture team. Yes, so from here it is already invited from our tenant, so that is why it is immediately picking up from here and we can add it immediately. Okay, something wrong. It is not allowing. Let me try another team. If that is the problem. Guest access, that is not allowing. Okay, let me see that. Okay, let's move to the user's profile and see whether this account has applications assigned. Yes, here we can see the application and the role. It's a standard user. The assignment type was directly assigned and the date. So here's the application, but it is not showing up here. It seems it is going to take some time, or it might take a little bit longer. Okay, let me try again. Something went wrong. Okay, not sure, it is not accepting, but the guest access is enabled for this whole tenant, and it is not allowing. Okay, no, it is not allowing. Not sure. Okay, we'll see here. Yes, so here is the application that we can see. It takes some time to reflect for this account. So once we click on it, it will redirect to these applications, redirect login redirection, and it will ask for the sign in credentials. So here I need to provide the user's identity, and then let me try whether it is working or. Okay, it is, it's the first time, so it may take some time to. So this is authenticating again. So it may take some time to showcase, and because of first time. So I think we have covered everything